Welcome, everyone. This is Charlotte Pierce, the producer of Ready Row USA, and you're joining us live from we're broadcasting from the US Rowing Convention. It's the first one in 3 years in person, and I think it's been pretty successful so far. We're here with John Gartin.
Yeah.
Gartin.
Yep.
He's executive director of the the Collegiate Rowing Coaches Association. And we're going to talk to him a little bit about what's going on in the organization, what their plans and their mission and plans are, and his presentation for the rowing convention. And I don't know, you could also describe the perfect stroke or something. Are you a coach too?
Oh yeah, no, I coached a little bit. I coached at, I started off right after I graduated undergrad, coaching my old club, and then I coached out in San Diego. I feel like I either coached or rowed rowed around in a coaching launch with almost all of the programs out in San Diego. So Mission Bay Aquatic Center, Mission Bay Rowing Association, San Diego Rowing Club, SLAC.
When were you at Mission Bay Rowing?
Got there in '98 and was there through '03. Mission Bay was pretty. I went out there to work on my PhD, which I didn't finish, which I would advise everybody.
But you got into rowing.
Yeah, don't spend 7 days a week at the boathouse coaching. Try to find some time to work on the dissertation.
Your advisor is not going to be happy.
Oh yeah, no, I went in and about 2 years later, and I'm like, so this is not going okay. And
but you found something you like better.
Oh, it worked out.
Yeah,
it worked out.
Yeah, I was vacationing in San Diego, and I call up a rowing club wherever I go.
Right.
So Mission Bay.
Yeah, Mission Bay Aquatic Center.
Something. I think it was. They also have weddings there and stuff.
San Diego Rowing Club.
San Diego Rowing Club.
Yeah. They've got a really nice wedding venue that was on the plans when I was there.
I see.
And then it looks out over Mission Bay.
This was like 2018 or 19.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. I left San Diego in '03 to go coach at Southeastern University, and was there until 2011, and then went and was an assistant coach at Oklahoma for 4 years. Then I coached at Dallas United for a year. And then fundamentally, I've been dragging my wife all over creation, and she got an offer for a faculty role at Northern Arizona University, and I said, this is absolutely your time to drive the bus.
You're a gentleman and a scholar. That's great. Nice guy.
I appreciate you saying that. It's very hard to get faculty roles in the fine arts, and she's a painter, print media, mixed media.
Does she do any rowing?
She's actually, at some point I'll have to, it's hanging on my wall, but she does paper cut also.
Right.
And there's a paper cut of me standing on the dock at Dadvale's pushing off the boat.
Ooh.
And she gave that to me for my birthday.
Send me a picture of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because I started this last year, the arts of rowing, and I had a photographer, a painter, a sculptor.
Yeah.
There's like 4 of them, and I can never remember the 4th. But it was, something I want to do every year because it just kind of completes. It extends the enjoyment of.
I think you'll appreciate this irony. So there's a painting of the finish line at San Diego at the Crew Classic. I can't remember exactly what year it was. I want to say 02, maybe 03. She is in the painting drawing a pastel from the other direction. She was right up against the steward's enclosure. She was sitting on the beach drawing a pastel of the rowing that was going on, and she's in the painting doing that.
That makes my head explode.
Yeah.
It's just, I love it. There's the one is Susan Wood who does. She's a para coach and rower. And she does amazing, paintings.
Oh, I'd love to see that.
Yeah, Susan Wood. And anyway, let's get back to CRCA.
Yes.
So after some coaching experience, is that a full-time position?
It's a part-time role.
Okay.
It's funded by the dues from the organization. Right now, we're looking to build up the sponsorship monies that we're earning with the CRCA. We have quite a number of potential naming rights, potential partnerships, and so we're definitely going to be looking for folks to help support the organization in things like probably one of our bigger things that we've done recently is the new Student Athlete of the Year Award. Which recognizes a student athlete from each of the divisions 1, 2, and 3, as well as recognizing the nominees from each of the teams from the membership. And so that's an amazing thing that we're doing, and it also, to be honest, it also is an amazing opportunity for a partner in that space.
Yeah, it's a very not lucrative, or it's an audience that you want to reach.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you're talking directly to student athletes.
Sure.
You're talking to the teams. You're talking to the coaches. And
Nice.
things
Have
like
you been
that.
able to make some connections here at the convention?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
In fact, several we've been talking to several potential partners here.
Nice.
Also, talking to several members of US Rowing, several members of other coaching staffs, connecting with them on a variety of issues and challenges and things that we'd like to help support with. Anything from the high performance programs all the way down to really kind of, how is recruiting going, how's recruiting for rowers, how's recruiting for coaches, and coaching education. It's like being here and seeing. I've been joking that it's fascinating to see everybody in 3 dimensions. And
I know. We met on the Zoom,
Yep.
the Rowing Industry Trade Association
Yep.
call,
Yep.
and thank you for connecting. It's really nice, and I'm glad to get this aspect of the convention covered. Do you also deal with club?
So the CRCA membership, the full members are the collegiate coaches of the varsity programs,
the
at
varsity
D1,
programs,
D2, and D3. Now, it's interesting to bring that up. Like, I'm going to be joining the ACRA meeting this coming week because, I think we're looking to start to reach out into the ecosystem and try and work with our partners, and U.S. Rowing here at the, here at the convention, but also, the ACRA coaches and their programs, which are the club programs at the collegiate level. Also working with IRCA, which is the men's side of the house for the varsity coaching association, because and this has been something that I've kind of developed in my head over the past 6 months to 12 months is we're part of a larger ecosystem. All of us are. Your podcast here, the U.S. Rowing Convention here, the coaches, the rowers, the junior rowers, the master rowers. If we're not helping to grow all of that in what we can do, and each organization is not going to resolve everything. We're not going to be able to do everything, but if we all contribute, the lift is lighter. And we grow the sport, and much to some of the conversations that we've heard over the past 2 days, it's like, how do we do outreach? How do we create more diversity, equity, and inclusion in our programs? But how do we also, open up and to each other and grow? Because right now with the CRCA, one of our responsibilities is to our membership, which means programs that might be there may be a collegiate program that tomorrow calls us up and says, hey, our AD is talking about our budget and they need help. And in fact, to be very transparent, Florida Tech had their program cut, their men and women programs cut. Well, yes, that concerns the CRCA greatly, but what we have to realize, it's also, there's a boat manufacturer that's not selling boats anymore to an organization. There's oars that are not being sold. There's, unisuits and boathouse jackets that are not being sold. There's kids that are not being recruited to a particular school anymore. And so it's a bigger challenge. It's where, me coming to RITO, coming to the Rowing Industry Trade Association, we need to have those connections. We need to all be in and helping to support one another, because without that, we're going to die a death by 1,000 cuts. And it may be that simply we stay static, we don't grow.
Yeah.
And some folks might be okay with that. But
there's a
what
whole
happens,
vast
we shrink.
pool of people out there that are, when they discover rowing, they are turned on by it. They're, and I always say that, collegiate and youth rowers are future masters, which I,
100%.
And that kind of keeps the industry growing and going.
And that's what we want to be able to do is where are these juniors going to? Where are the collegiate rowers going to? Where are the masters going to, continue to grow?
Right.
And I remember when U.S. Rowing instituted that brand new AA 20, I think it was 20 to 20 or 22 to 27 in the masters rowing world back in, I think it was I want to say 2002-ish.
So is that I'm an E or something, or an F?
I'd have to go back to the chart.
The youngest one?
Yeah, you're an A. You're down there.
Yeah, definitely.
But the thing is we didn't have a piece to the puzzle at that point, because now we have the collegiate rowers graduating at 22. Some of them don't want to go into U23 or championship or that kind of system. They want to go join a rowing club and be part of something that they're going to enjoy. They're going to enjoy the fitness. Yes, they want to race, but they don't want to train 2 a days over 5-6 days.
They want to have a kid or two
or
something.
They have other lives, and so that was a big leap forward for them to add that space.
Yeah,
we got to keep
really nice.
doing that.
I wasn't aware of that.
Yeah, and so that we fill in the spaces where now, and as I was in a session with Richard and Nick, and Richard Butler and Nick and I think Carol, and they were talking about how to make our spaces more inclusive and inviting. And what does that do? It grows our sport. It grows our community. Diversity is better for all of us.
Yeah, I was talking with. What was that? My point was. Yeah, it's just tapping into that pool of people that not everyone's going to like it as much as we do.
No,
but there's. I always think I'm like an evangelist. You must like rowing.
No, and some people come to a buffet and they get a small plate. Some people come to a buffet and they get 3 helpings. When I was in college back a little while ago, I was the 3 helping guy. But rowing can be something to a lot of people, and we don't need to do just one thing.
Right.
And the great thing about ACRA and CRCA and IRCA, and all of those other institutions is we can, with all of those different institutions, we're basically adding to the ecosystem. And we're representing different constituencies under the rowing umbrella.
Right.
But we all have our, the things that we serve, but we could help each other do that bigger and better.
I know one thing I was going to ask you. I mean, the club programs at universities.
Yeah.
You might have someone who just didn't know until they got to be a sophomore or some junior and they're a fantastic rower, and they might go in. Are you kind of having dialogues about that kind of thing?
No, well, one thing I want, I would be concerned if we were oh, you're a junior at XYZ University at a club, if that student athlete wants to, go to a varsity program, that's up to the student athlete. But what I would want to do is not push away collegiate club programs for their fear of us coming and poaching all of their athletes.
That's true.
But there are places where a rower, if they get better, they can have these opportunities. And same thing, it's a high school rower gets better, and suddenly their opportunities expand a little bit more.
Yeah.
But I was actually talking to Yossi about high performance and about that. I'll use Brian Volpenheim as an example. If Brian Volpenheim didn't have the club at Ohio State, we would not have had him in a boat. And he comes from a club program, and that's not the only example of students coming from a variety of different programs. Now, are there top programs at the collegiate level that are more likely to put more athletes into the elite level? Probably. But our ecosystem's so wide and deep that there are opportunities for people to get to that space no matter where they're at.
That's cool, yeah.
Yeah, and so I think that, the great thing about this, the conference here is for us to have these conversations on how we all get better.
And I know you've touched on the diversity, equity, and inclusion aspect, and I know that's something we all have to continue to work on. It's one of our live stream and podcast main focus this coming year, and it's not going to take. It's going to be more than 1 year. I mean, but I just like to sample, people from all aspects of rowing, and all communities. So like a coach of color, or so we try and feature that. Be mindful of that. But
yeah, and that I think is singularly one of the hardest and easiest things we can do.
Yeah.
Because if we actually work on that change, there's so many people out there that suddenly the boathouse doors are open to them, and suddenly
it's going to be exciting to see it.
And I can't remember. Somebody said this morning. We're going to be in the United States, we're going to be a minority population, and so if we don't move with that, we're not moving forward.
Yeah, that was Amanda and her keynote yesterday.
It's all blurring together. We've moved to so many sessions.
And another one person I talked to yesterday was Ramona Cox, who does wellness athlete and coach wellness programs and therapy. Is that, can you just talk a little bit about that in your organization?
And her session was great.
Because it's just that's such a vulnerable time of life, and they're trying to fit academics and their future and training.
Yeah, and I think that's a big deal on so many levels at the collegiate level, where we as coaches, I don't want to call us frontline workers, but coaches are that. We're a lot of the time we're the first person.
They might not even want to tell their parents because it's.
I've had it happen to me.
Yeah.
When I was coaching at a particular program, I had a student athlete come straight to me with some very, very challenging moment.
Wow.
They hadn't even talked to their parents about it. They hadn't talked to, honestly, I'm not entirely certain they'd even talked to friends about it.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that they had that opportunity to turn to me. But also, the situation they brought to me, I was not the trained professional to be working with that over a long term, but I am the first resource they turn to.
Yeah, so you have to absorb that and find them the resources.
Absolutely.
So, that's very important.
And inside the CRCA, that's another point of conversation and education where we're talking about, okay, we're not trained professionals, but what can we do in the moment? And how can we present ourselves, as well as go through basically what do we do next questions in our heads, and to talk about in our head going, okay, this student is presenting me with X and Y, I need to do A, B, and J and G, and for us to run that matrix through our head.
Have you been involved in the safe sport?
So actually the CRCA coaches themselves are not required in terms of safe sport.
Right. Yeah, because of the age.
Age groups is a particular piece of it. Also, there's a couple other aspects to safe sport in the collegiate rowing environment. However, I can tell you that I firmly believe if you were to ask any one of our members, they would tell you that what safe sport is doing is of the utmost importance.
Sure, yeah. I had, as a board member of a high school crew, I had to take that,
Yep.
And I'm not sure if that rule has changed, but I'm so glad I did. I mean, it doesn't answer every single question, but it gives you an awareness.
It's an awareness, and I think that's where this kind of education here at the conference, our continuing, informal education that we might be doing on our own, formalized education like with US Rowing's coaching levels 1, 2, and 3, safe sport and things like that. We have to keep doing that, because if we don't, quite honestly, we're not keeping up with best practices, and if we're not keeping up with best practices, that's a problem.
Yeah, and it's not an isolated thing. I mean, you have 18-year-olds coming in, and they're still pretty young.
Yes. Yeah.
But and let me ask you something. The gender issues in competition in sports. Do you deal with that in your organization?
I think we've had conversations about that. It's for us in one of the places we have to turn to and look is to see, okay, what is the NCAA codified and said this is the rule. Right. I think there's a diversity of opinion on the matter. I think there's a lot of education that all of us can pursue in the matter, and that is a very challenging space.
Is that something that comes up in D1, D2, and D3?
It definitely comes up in conversation once in a while. We haven't had
specific athletes.
something that I would say is on par with what I think
The
swimming.
swim thing, yeah.
But at the same time, I think we've all going to face hurdles and challenges going forward, and we've got a lot of self-education to do to try to figure out how we're going to navigate, which, for a lot of us might be a very different landscape than what we were looking at 20 years ago.
Yeah, isn't that, but you're right about, the education, and then just keep trying to make progress.
Yeah.
But,
And that's where I would encourage people to, no matter where their opinion lands, is to be educated about it, and to pursue multiple vectors of education. I tell my students, there's a reason that you have to get 15 citations for the paper. Is that you've got to look at the diversity of opinions to coalesce an actual synthesis and analysis and final evaluation of what you think is going on. And each of us are going to come up with a different perspective on it, but don't read just the headline.
Keep moving towards
if we're going to do better, we got to go better.
Don't read just the headline. I mean, God, people.
Yeah.
The Twitter mentality.
World does not live in 140 characters.
Whoa.
Or I think it's 280.
It's 280 now.
Yeah, sorry. See, old school Twitter. It's
right. Well, thank you so much for and then let me know, is there anything else that you've got plans or,
well, we're working towards continuing coaching education within the CRCA.
Great.
Another thing is to basically widen the funnel of upcoming coaches who might be interested in entering the collegiate coaching ranks. And so we'll be doing that. So it's not just coaching education of current coaches, it's going down into, even into the collegiate, juniors and seniors, and saying to them, you want to be a rowing coach, or you want to explore that, let's show you, what's the path forward. Let's do some career development.
And mentorship, do you have?
Yeah, and we've got a mentorship program within the within the CRCA, and that's going to get relaunched this semester.
Oh, you got a job, a lot of
irons
in the fire.
We've got a great executive team, I think all of them are doing an amazing job. Sheila's amazing. Samantha she was recently at Louisville. Sheila's the operations coordinator at Ohio State. And then also our elected board, led by Maddie Davis, totally from Boston. And Mike Lane is our treasurer, and Liz Tupin from Michigan. That whole executive, the board has done some amazing things over the past 3 years through the pandemic, and that's what we're trying to keep the momentum, is to take that forward, because previous to the pandemic, I think a lot of people looked at the CRCA and said, oh, you're the ones that do, in fact, I ran into somebody today who said this to me, oh, you guys are the ones that do the polls. And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. We do the POCOC National Rowing Poll for Division I, Division II, and Division III, which POCOC's an outstanding sponsor of that and our All-American Awards. But we are so much more than that. And that's what we're trying to get out there, is that there is a new depth and breadth to the CRCA.
Do you have a relationship with the Institute for Rowing Leadership at CRI?
No, but I'm always happy
They're
to
right over there.
No, I see them right there. I'm always happy to talk to somebody.
Yeah, we did our high school crew we hired one of their amazing program, and these kids, I guess, they're in their 20s or whatever, but they're just sharp, and they get it.
Yeah,
they really get it. So
check
them out.
I'm familiar with the program.
Yeah, right.
But in terms of the CRCA hat, I haven't had conversations with them. But with what they do, and I think they partner with Northeastern.
Yes, you're right.
Yeah,
but,
and if I remember right, here's ironic, is if they're partnering with the sport management program, which I think they are, the chair of the sport management program at Northeastern was my sports information director when I was in Nova Southeastern.
Sweet.
Yeah. So.
It's a small community.
Oh, yeah.
What can I say?
It's a small world.
John, thank you so much for
welcome.
being here. And I
Yeah.
loved having all these different aspects of the sport, and your perspective is valuable. Let's keep in touch
Yes,
and
absolutely. Yep.
update, in 6 months, a year. And,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Thank
we'll
you.
just see you at the next conference.
Yeah, the next conference. Or sooner, regatta.
Yeah. Sounds good.
Yeah, take care.
Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, we may have a comment. Gold CRCA ACRA coaches are getting progressive with junior to college pipelines. Ryan Worth.
All right.
Hi, Ryan. He's out of Chattanooga.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I actually firmly believe I have sat down with Ryan and shared,
I'm
shared
sure
a meal.
everybody's
Yeah.
met Ryan. And he rode across the Atlantic one time. Did you know that?
I don't recall that part of us having a
Yeah,
conversation. We're going to have
an
to.
Atlantic Challenge rower.
Right.
Like
We're-
10 years ago or something.
Ryan's going to have to come back to Flagstaff because I think he needs to go run the Grand Canyon. And,
Yeah,
one more
let's
time.
let's get Ryan on
Yeah.
that. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Bye.